Welcome to the weekend edition of the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. I'm Michael Thompson and hello, Sean Aylmer.
Hello, Michael.
Sean, on weekdays, it's all about the Fast 5, the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. On the weekend, we still keep it to 5 minutes, but we're going to pick out the biggest story of the week, the most remarkable business story, the sleeper story, one that's kind of flying under the radar a little bit, and then our favourite business adjacent story, because they're really not businessy, are they, by the time we get to that? Let's get into it. What was the biggest story this week?
Oh, the economy. The Reserve Bank kept the official rate on hold. If it increases in 2024, well, that will because it thinks inflation is getting out of control again. As Michelle Bullock, the Reserve Bank governor, put it, the bank is resolute when it comes to inflation. It's going to keep an eye on the global economy, trends domestically, and the outlook for inflation and employment. Now, this is the last Reserve Bank board meeting of the year, so we're off the hook until next February. In fact, some economists reckon they might cut rates next year. That'd be good. We also got Bureau of Statistics economic growth figures for the September quarter. The economy expanded by just 0.2% thanks to migration. If you base it on a per-person basis, we actually went backwards 0.5%. That is actually a big slowdown, mostly in the household sector. So we certainly have interest rates doing their job, Michael.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, for me, Sean, the biggest story this week was just the monster week that we've had in politics. It ended with a big win for the government doing a deal with the Greens and the crossbench to pass the most contested part of its industrial relations overhaul. This is the labour hire laws that are really going to affect companies like BHP and Qantas, but really the miners are the ones that are furious about that at the moment. But the other big political issue this week was the hammering that the government has copped for a while now over the High Court ruling that saw 150 people released from indefinite immigration detention. They had to rush this week to pass emergency legislation designed to lock up some of these non-citizens who were released but are deemed to still pose a risk to public safety. Two other quick ones, but they are still actually very, very big. Major development at National Cabinet with the states backing NDIS reforms, which is designed to stop the NDIS blowing out from $42 billion this year to $100 billion by 2032. And also the COP28 climate summit happening at the moment. Australia is obviously part of that. We are there. Climate Change Minister Chris Bowen says that Australia is going to endorse, how about this, a formal phase out of fossil fuels. He gets extra points for alliteration.
He sure does. That is a massive week in Parliament just before we go for the Christmas break. Michael, what for you was your most remarkable story?
Well, a very quick one, but a big one. India this week passed a major milestone. The share market in India hit the $4 trillion mark for the first time ever on Wednesday. It's now the fifth largest equity market in the world. It's catching up to Hong Kong. It's significant for Australia because India, it just shows just how much India is becoming an economic powerhouse. And Australia is really in a very good position to trade with what is now the world's most populous nation. We've had the Indian Prime Minister visiting Australia this year. We've had the Australian Prime Minister visiting India this year. There's a lot happening there, and Australia is in a very good position to benefit from the growth of the Indian economy.
Yeah, I think that's going to play out over the next decade or so. Can I tell you about my sleeper story, Michael?
Yeah, please.
It's about the workplace and the growing momentum to not only work from home, but also ditch all those meetings. A new survey from Slack Technology says spending more than 2 hours a day in meetings can hurt productivity. I totally agree. People stuck on Zoom calls and in conference rooms for over that time are less able to concentrate. Now, it surveyed 10,000 desk workers, including people from Australia. 2 hours is sort of the tipping point. Those who spent more time than that on Zoom or in conference room just didn't get enough time to do the work that matters. Half of executive polls said they had too many meetings. About a quarter of rank and file workers said the same. Somewhat surprisingly, there were a bunch of younger workers who wanted more meetings. Now, there's a bit of COVID overhang in all this. During COVID, the number of meetings attended by workers actually jumped. The average length decreased somewhat. Anyway, I think the worm is turning on this one. Meetings, I'm hoping, are on the way out.
That's a great sleeper story. Can I nominate a favourite story of the week? And I reckon we might unite behind this one because it is just a cracker of a story. If there was an award for doing things by the book and all above board, it should go to these two, BHP boss Mike Henry and Canadian National Railway Chief Executive Tracy Robinson. Now, if these two were just like any of us, just regular people, Sean, they just met somewhere, just out in public and decided that they wanted to have a relationship, it wouldn't be a problem at all. But when one party's running a mining giant and the other party is running a transport company that's building a railway line to the mining giant's potash mine, it just gets that little bit more complicated. So these two had to get board approval to date. Luckily, steps had already been taken to guard against any potential issues and they got the all clear. Really, Sean, this is just a story about love. And isn't that a nice favourite story of the week? It just shows that romance is not dead.
Even in the iron ore and railway businesses. Ooh, I can't beat that. I do have to quickly mention the penguin story. Penguins, they basically 600 times an hour have micro sleeps. How cool is that? Anyway, but I still think the romance story is my favourite story as well.
And the penguin story is a great example of just how the favourite story category can have nothing to do with business at times.
Totally.
All right, there we go. 5 minutes and pretty much everything you need to know in the world of both business and penguins. Thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
We'll be back on Monday morning with the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Don't forget to follow and join us online on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook and X. I'm Michael Thompson, and this is the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed.